Been quite a week for the world. Lots of disruption in the financial markets, banking, travel, and of course payment processing. What does that mean for gold and silver? And more importantly, cash, currency. What is the solution? When things like this happen, how can we best protect ourselves and make sure that we're okay in this crazy modern world? We're going to talk about that and much more, including our favorite topic, CBDCs, in today's video. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another precious metal ramble. It's been quite the week for IT infrastructure issues, including disruption to banking, travel, and of course, card payment processing. Pretty big for our modern world. It's quite amazing how much we all rely on these digital assets to help us go about our daily lives. And unfortunately, due to these outages, I am starting to see a massive growth in the number of people calling for gold and silver to be the replacement of all of that. You have to have as much gold and silver as possible in your pocket right now in case the global IT infrastructure goes down. Unfortunately, that's just patently wrong. This stuff is realistically the only thing that you can have. So I aim today to be a bit of a voice of contention to the kind of big anti-bank, anti-CBDCs, all of this kind of crap kind of voice here on this channel. For those who've been watching a long time, you know that I am not really a kind of hardcore stacker in that I'm going to take my kilo bar down to the shops and buy something with it in an apocalypse. And of course, if there was a global IT outage, let's be quite frank, how many people out there know what a kilo bar of silver is worth these days? Or for that matter, a silver dime or a sovereign. It's just not necessarily practical to think that you're gonna get all of your problems solved by just heading out with some gold and silver in your pocket. It might help in very unique circumstances with very unique people that you're dealing with, but beyond that, the practicalities of gold and silver far outweigh the potential impracticalities of things like CBDCs. Now, I'd love to know your opinions on these because I know it's going to split opinion. I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comment section shouting at me about the control that is going to be happening from CBDCs, but the fact that you feel that there is not as much level of control right now when using your debit or credit card compared with things like using cash, then I'm afraid you're in for a bit of a shock and surprise. CBDCs do not concern me one iota, and the idea that there are going to be mass, telling of what you can and cannot buy and the banning of what you can and cannot buy from CBDCs is completely irrational. And also, let's not forget that it's not going to replace traditional payment methods and currencies anytime soon. Yes, I could foresee a time in the future where there would be no need for physical cash. And in that world, are you really going to be too worried about buying something to just moan about it and go on the black market every moment you can? I don't think so. It's just not practical in this modern world. Now, does it mean that I'm in favor of CBDCs and just the complete level of control that everybody would have over everybody's life? No, and that's why I keep cash in my life, and I use cash on a fairly regular basis when I'm out doing my thing, doing shopping, going into town. I will take some cash with me wherever I go for no other reason than what we've seen this week, because there are issues sometimes with payment processing in this IT infrastructure world. There are things that can go wrong. And as I've said, taking out silver to pay in silver content is not really going to be something too practical. And unfortunately, like it or hate it, the world revolves around this stuff, cash. And, well, maybe not physical cash, but money, actual money rather than silver. Dollars, pounds, euros, yen, whatever it is, if you've got some of this in your pocket, you're pretty certain to be able to get something for that money. Now, interesting that there are a lot of businesses and shops these days that don't accept cash, and not accepting cash is definitely a right that a business has. And I have certainly experienced that myself, and there have been a few times where the only thing I have is cash to pay. And unfortunately, we've had to do literally a bank's transfer on the spot for some of these businesses, which I find hilarious. I could fight my corner on those kind of things, but I don't really care. I'm not really that kind of guy. So I think it's very important to just have this voice of calm within the community, because there are inevitably going to be lots of different videos out there going, the world is coming to an end, the machines are taking over, and it's just not. It was a bit of a balls up from IT infrastructure updates, basically, CrowdStriker or something. I can't remember their name. I've looked it up so many times that I've forgotten it. It's hilarious. But, IT security infrastructure update did a bit of a poo-poo, and the world kind of went to shit a little bit. And that's just how it is, unfortunately. If you are disrupted by this in a travel situation, then that sucks, and I cannot express how bad that is. But unfortunately, these things are likely to happen, which is why it's important to be prepared and have things like cash in your life. Now, the counter argument is, of course, that cash is pretty awful when it comes to protecting your money. And certainly, from my perspective, I don't keep a lot of cash in my life, but just enough to pay for things that I might need to pay for if, for example, there wasn't, a way to pay with a credit or debit card when you're out and about. And sometimes that is the case. And sometimes you just want to pay with cash. Perhaps you don't want your bank being intrusive into exactly what you're paying. Or, as I've had happen a few times before, banks have declined transactions with various different vendors. Now, it's not really happened to me when I've been out and about paying for things in shops, for example. But if you're online and you're paying for something and your bank stops it, it's not great, and it sucks, to be honest. So having, from my perspective, a number of different bank cards, a number of different bank accounts is always really important, and that's something I would equally recommend as much as the other, because if you do need to have cash in your life, sometimes it can be a bit tricky to go to the bank and get it, but you can go to any cash machine and just bring it out. And if you need a decent amount of cash, multiple bank cards equals multiple amounts in a short space of time. Now, to the point that silver and gold will be the solution to all of this. We are never going back on the gold standard. That is my prediction. It's been something I've been talking about here on this channel for nearly 8 years. I seem to remember one of my very first videos was talking about the fact that the gold standard is a monetary sort of system and way of working that is just far outdated from our modern society. The world's too big, complex, and unfortunately there is a lack of education about what is the value of things like precious metals. Back in the day, gold and silver were actually our currency, the money in our pockets, and we knew, to a degree anyway, what an ounce of silver would be worth or what a sovereign might be worth. But now that is lost, and that's not coming back. And whilst gold and silver still have a role to play in our modern economy, and certainly from an investment perspective they have a role to play, it is important to remind you all that we are in the 21st century, and things like cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and bank card transactions are a thing. And unfortunately, one day cash will probably disappear. Will it be replaced by digital currencies like Bitcoin or central bank digital currencies? Probably, but I would think that there is always going to be some kind of backup, because if there really was an apocalyptic situation, and I'm not a subscriber to the idea that one day there will be an apocalyptic situation, but I can't ignore the fact that unfortunately really bad things happen in this world, and sometimes you need to bug out with all of your money and move to a different part of the world, and sometimes that is really only possible to do with things like gold and silver, more probably gold than silver, I would say. Cash as well is equally as important. I have some dollars in my life as well, not because I feel like there is going to be an opportunity to spend them in an apocalypse, but it's always practical when you're going traveling abroad to have different currencies in your pocket, because you just never know what might happen where you are. So when I go abroad, for example, to Europe, I will always have some euros, I will always have some pounds, and I will always have some dollars. Not necessarily a huge amount, but just enough for those little bit of an emergency situation. But in the future, I can definitely see, and we can see it now with borderless bank accounts happening all over the place. There are plenty of options for that. And it used to be that if you went on holiday and you took your credit card with you or your debit card with you, you'd be absolutely shafted by the bank for all of the charges and foreign exchange rates. But now they're all really quite competitive, and it's just very easy. But I'm not going to argue that when things like this week happen, there are definitely going to be issues and disruption. But unfortunately, back to the original point of the video, gold and silver aren't the answer. They really aren't. Now, I can see a possibility where if you are traveling, say, and you've gone to Europe, and I've got my pounds, I've got my euros, and I've got my dollars, I might take with me an ounce of gold. Just have it hidden away. It's a good portable piece of wealth. Have it hidden away in my sock or something, or in a magic belt buckle or something. There's plenty of different ways that you can conceal an ounce of gold very securely. And then I could see a scenario where maybe you might be able to take it to an exchange somewhere and sell it and get your cash. But ultimately, you're not going to go anywhere and spend that. You're not going to be able to, you might just about be able to exchange it for cash and then do it. But you're not, for example, in a pinch, going to go to the airport or to the train station and be able to buy a train. If the planes aren't working because the computer systems are down, you're not going to be able to go and buy a plane ticket with an ounce of gold. You're going to have to do a medium of exchange. And that's why cash has always been part of humans' existence. You know, exchange, barter tools, whether it be back in ancient history and it was little clay tablets with IOU slips on, or whether it was physical gold and silver coins that represented a medium of exchange. If you need to buy that cow, you can do so with something that I will be able to purchase what I need with down the line. You know, maybe I need a packet of eggs, or maybe I need a sheep and we do a straight swap, or 2 sheep for a cow. But ultimately, how do you know it's fair? How do you get that balance? You get it through cash, you get it through money and currency. And right now, we have evolved beyond physically holding metal, and we now use the actual internet, this amazing thing that's created, that's connected the world. And the next evolution of that is to integrate our currency into that world. But I don't think it's going to replace it, I think is the honest truth for me. Now look, I'm not an expert, I'm not a financial guru, and I'm certainly not as knowledgeable as some people are about CBDCs. And I get that there is worry about it, intrusion in your life and the ability for you to actually transact. But quite frankly, we're in that situation already. We're in such a big brother world right now that if you go and buy nefarious things from nefarious sources, eventually you're going to get found out. If you are committed to the black market and buying things that you shouldn't be, then yeah, you're going to have things to worry about from a CBDC perspective. Am I worried that the government might impose bans on buying things they don't want you to buy? Possibly, but if they're going to ban me from buying cigarettes, not that I smoke anyway, but I don't want to breathe other people's smoke when I'm out and about. It's not good for me, it's not good for them. I would be in favour of that. I would use my democratic right and voice to voice opinions that are not so good. And that's what we should do. And it's important to do that, not just shout at the internet and shout at the world for being so modern and crazy. That's my message of contention to the, I think, norm that's within our stacking community. I love this community. I think it's fantastic. And there are differing opinions on it. I've always been consistent with my opinion that there is no sort of ultra easy way of having gold and silver fix every problem, unfortunately. It's just not how gold and silver work. But from a long-term perspective, having it in your life is really good. Having short-term cash reserves so that you can get through issues with card payment processing and various different modern world problems, definitely important as well. But the reality is silver and gold are not a quick silver bullet to get everything sorted. That's just how it is, from my perspective at least. I'd love to know your perspective, so let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed to my video and you've enjoyed this video, then there's a good chance you'll like some of the other videos that we make. So please do feel free to subscribe if you have enjoyed it, and hit the like button as well. A big thank you to all of my Backyard Bullion Ramblers for watching to the back end of a video. We love all of you guys very much. And to the Cool Kids Club members, I say you're extra special, super cool. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.